Hey, kiddo.
Welcome back, everyone. It's Charlie. This will be my full Last of Us Season 2 Episode 5 video. There are a whole bunch of Easter eggs and references to the Last of Us games, so we'll break it all down. If you're brand new to the channel, be sure to subscribe to get all the videos, and careful for spoilers if you have not seen the episode yet. It was titled Feel Her Love, which is a reference to the Last of Us 2 game. In the game, there's a phrase that the Seraphites use. We hear them say it during the episode, and it's written many places in a lot of their graffiti in this season. The way they're doing things on the show is they want to reveal that the Seraphites are just as bad, if not worse, than the WLF, just in a completely different direction, like, oh, these people are crazy. When we heard them use the line at the end of the episode, and when we heard the Seraphite that Isaac was torturing in last week's episode use a similar type of line, the person all the Seraphites are referring to is the prophet, who in present day is dead, but from whom they derive their whole belief system. They're more like a religious cult in opposition to the WLF. As they say during the episode, they live a little bit more like the Amish, pretty much in opposition to any other group that uses technology, lives in cities, uses modern amenities. They live a very druidic-like existence, living with nature, staying as far away from modern conveniences as possible. That's why all their weapons are bows and arrows, simple tools, knives, swords, things like that. It's the same reason why they use the bird whistles to communicate with each other across distances, and why the WLF doesn't care about broadcasting their location openly on the radios, because the Seraphites don't use radios. The episode begins with Hanrahan, Isaac's second in command in the WLF, going to the hospital, checking the barricade to the doors down to the sub-basement, which they pick up with at the end of the episode, where all the spores are, basically. Like, this is a teaser for what is to come. She talks to the WLF team leader here about the tragedy that recently went down when they were securing this hospital. Hospital, very important place to control. But they use this whole first part of the episode to set up the threat of the spores and what goes down. The way they play it here, this Park person here thinks they're going to be executed for killing some of their own WLF soldiers, and because of their ongoing war with the Seraphites, they need every warm body helping them that they can, so it's a big deal for them to kill their own men. She explains how the team were clearing out the basements, and by the time they made it into the second sub-basement, and because she was trying to contain the spores, she was forced to lock in and ultimately doom her team, which included her son, Leon. Ellie winds up spotting him still alive, breathing the spores in Basement 2 later on. The way the producers explain it, they wanted this to be an example of someone who made the ultimate sacrifice in opposition to what Joel did, sacrificing the person that was most precious to them if it meant saving the rest of the group, so to speak, like saving the WLF from the threat of the spores making it out of the sub-basement. They use this to show why they haven't dealt with spores up until the show now, because of the sacrifices that people made to keep them below ground. Joel, on the other hand, during the events of Season 1, saved Ellie even though it meant dooming the rest of the entire human race on the planet. While this is all going down, though, like while the Park person is explaining the spores and why she did what she did, they also remind you about the ongoing war with the Seraphites, just because that will continue to be a big thing. Like, it's a real big thing in the game, too. We're just slowly learning bit and bit about the Seraphites, like Ellie just encountered them for the first time in this episode.
May she guide us.
May she guide us.
We finally get Joel back on the show. It's in a flashback, obviously, but it's to show how Ellie got his guitar and how she learned that Pearl Jam song, which is from the game. Like, this is a big game moment. We get that same new version of the intro since Joel died with just Ellie at the end. We will see if they ever wind up changing this again. And they pick back up at the Pinnacle Theater that next morning after Ellie and Dina wake up. The Sick Habit on the title of the marquee here is a band from the game that gets referenced, and they just reference them on the show. In the game, inside the theater, they find a program for production called The Tragedy of Cassandra, which is based on the Greek tragedy of Cassandra, who is a prophet able to foretell the future. The name Cassandra in Greek means prophet of doom. They use this scene mostly for Ellie and Dina to plot out their next steps and find Nora, who's like the next person they're going after as part of Abby's group, on their path to Abby. Fighting their way up the boss ladder, they listen to the WLF radio to try and triangulate all their positions, and they also explain why they're so open about their positions. Because the Seraphites don't use the radios, the WLF doesn't need to be careful about giving away their positions. They also use it to remind you that Ellie's kind of dumb as rocks. They kind of been using Dina and the other characters as the brains of the operation. There are a lot of jokes about Ellie being an idiot during this. Even though she looks like she's 14, she's like, oh, she's clearly making mistakes that like a 14-year-old girl would make, so you can't expect too much from her. In the context of the game, she's actually supposed to be about 19 years old when this is taking place. So even though they do look like tiny little babies doing all this stuff, they are meant to be college age for the most part. She goes into the actual theater where she sees the band's instruments all set up like there was going to be production here right as the fungus started spreading and things went crazy. The guitars start to remind her of Joel and his guitar he gave her, using that as a path to set up the flashbacks from The Last of Us 2 game, which they start at the very end of the episode. Like, we actually just see the beginning of that flashback, and it seems like most of next week's episode 6 will be a big flashback episode. That's meant to pay off the big video game moment where he gave her his guitar and taught her how to play the Pearl Jam song Future Days, which she then starts to play here. The actress Bella Ramsey is playing in this scene, and it is really the actress Bella Ramsey in real life playing and singing this song. One of the funny behind-the-scenes details, too, the way they make the show, and we'll actually see this in a future episode, is that Bella Ramsey was actually joking with Pedro Pascal when they were doing an interview for the season together, and she was reminding him that she taught him in real life how to play the guitar so that he, Joel, in the scene, could teach Ellie how to play the guitar. There's a lot of Pearl Jam in this series just in general. Like, there's a Pearl Jam song that plays over the end credits for this episode, but it's a completely different song. The reason why there's so much Pearl Jam used in all the episodes, there's a bunch of Pearl Jam during Season 1 as well, it's the same in the video games, is because when Naughty Dog made The Last of Us in The Last of Us 2 games, Neil Druckmann was a huge Pearl Jam stan, so he just wrote that into the video games. Then when it came time to do the TV show in live action, they were just doing things similar to the original video games, like, oh, we use Pearl Jam in the game for this big twist, we'll use Pearl Jam for the TV show.
If I ever were to lose you.
Maybe at some point we'll get an Eddie Vedder cameo. Like, it would be weird for them to use this much Pearl Jam in the game and then the show, then not let Eddie Vedder have some kind of cameo in the background. They haven't quite got to the Hillcrest area in town. That's probably going to be in a future episode. But the area where Dina is talking about that the WLF are too afraid to go, like this is mystery area that they never seem to want to go, is because there are 11 stalkers in that area. They said they were using that for a big dead to rights kind of twist, like, yeah, we can totally make it through. Nope, you are definitely dead. If Jesse and Tommy theoretically hadn't showed up, like Tommy is there too, but he's not there in this scene. It's Jesse to save them. If they had not followed them to Seattle, they would be dead. They start to make their way to the factory shortcut as Dina uses the metaphor of the Amish to explain how the Seraphites work. Pretty sure Amish people don't string people up and gut them like that, but you kind of get the idea. She tells a couple of jokes about what she plans on naming her baby. I also thought it was funny that Ellie refers to the baby as it, like a thing. They spot the Seraphites' graffiti in bodies, feel her love, like I said, from the game, the title of the episode as well. It's also written in graffiti all over the place. And they're trying to show how they still think the WLF are terrible, but they haven't seen the Seraphites yet, not till a little bit later in the episode. So the idea is that, like, they thought that the Seraphites weren't that bad until they see them gut and string up the WLF soldier. Like, oh wow, these people are just as crazy, if not worse, than the WLF. So no matter which group, we can't let either of these people capture us. They also use this to launch Dina into a longer explainer for her origin story too, her traumatic backstory. Like, everybody on the show in the game is meant to have their own traumatic backstory. She's from New Mexico. She lost her family, her mother and her sister, when they were killed by a raider. So there's a minor change from the video games. She explained she was 8 years old, she took her family's only gun, and while she was away, because her family didn't have the gun, they weren't able to kill the raider, so the raider wound up killing them. And then she, 8-year-old Dina, killed the raider in revenge. Now in the game, the minor change is that her older sister survived and raised her till she was a little bit older. Eventually, at some point, her older sister dies, then Dina makes her way to Jackson, but she was older when that happened. On the show, they make it sound like her entire family was killed by that raider, so they don't really explain how she survived as an 8-year-old kid, just implying that somebody eventually came along and helped her. Like, maybe that person was Joel at some point, and that's why she thought of Joel as a surrogate father. But on the show, they're kind of fuzzy as to when exactly Joel met Dina for the first time. Like, how old was Dina when they met for the first time? So a lot of this is just meant to be in service of tying her more to the Joel character, making it so that she thinks more of Joel in a surrogate father kind of way, and justify the reason why she would even come here and want revenge in the first place. Like, I would have done the exact same thing if it was me. In the game, Dina doesn't nearly have the same type of connection to Joel, like she's not nearly as close, because the order in which different characters make their way to Seattle is completely different. Like in the game, it's Tommy who goes to Seattle for revenge first, Ellie follows him with Dina, and then Jesse follows them. On the show, it's a bit reversed. Ellie and Dina go first, then Jesse and Tommy go together following them.
Is Tommy okay?
Then they pass through the factory, running into the stalker, thinking they're going to survive until 11 stalkers show up. And the way the producers, the writers explain it is that Ellie in this moment here, even though she plays it off like, I could take a couple bites, I'll be fine, you protect yourself here and I'll take care of this myself. Ellie in this moment is kind of lying to Dina, expecting that she's going to die and sacrifice her life to save Dina. Because even though she can withstand a couple bites without getting infected, she's not immune to being ripped apart by their teeth. Like she's not immune to having her bones and flesh ripped apart. And that was what was going to happen until Jesse shows up with the shotgun. He explains that he and Tommy followed them to Seattle trying to protect them and bring them back because at least on the show, Tommy is mostly concerned with saving the thing that was most precious to Joel, and that is Ellie. So he's just trying to save Ellie from being killed on this revenge mission. They'll probably get into this when we eventually see Tommy in a future episode, if it's going to be next week's episode, or they'll wait till like episode 7, the finale, to show him. You do notice that Dina is very quick to lie to Jesse about Ellie getting bit when he asks first thing, just because Jesse does not know the secret of Ellie's immunity yet. Ellie tries to argue with Jesse about not wanting to go back to Jackson without killing Abby and the others, but their argument is cut short by the appearance of the Seraphites group, who whistle just like they do in the game to communicate, who then string out the WLF soldier and gut him, sacrificing him to their prophet, cleansing him, so to speak. They recite their mantra, feel her love, they said the name of the thing inside the thing. They've done that in many, many Last of Us episodes so far. They wind up catching their group, they shoot Dina with an arrow, which is in danger now of being infected, making her very, very sick, to say nothing of her also being pregnant with Jesse's baby. So that'll be an interesting reveal in a future episode too. Like, we have to worry about this arrow, we gotta heal this soon, we need to get out of here. But also on top of that, guess what? I'm pregnant with our baby. Also happens to be in this weird love triangle now because she's in love with Ellie, but Jesse is still kind of in love with her. What wonderful melodrama. Then we spend the entire rest of the episode with Ellie, who makes it back to the city, sneaks into the hospital, and is able to confront Nora, and it goes down just like it does during the Last of Us 2 game for the most part, with a few exceptions like the whole spores part of this is a little bit different. Nora is played by Tati Gabrielle, who is also playing the main character of Naughty Dog's next big game, Intergalactic, but that's not meant to be connected to The Last of Us on any kind of story or Easter egg level. It's a totally different IP, like a totally different thing. She's working on hospital duty for the WLF currently. Ellie tries to catch her alone, and then the encounter goes similar to the way it goes down in the game, but not quite the same because the spores are just a little bit different. A lot of their later dialogue in the red lighting is taken from the games, but the whole circumstances of them being caught in the basement is meant to be a little bit different. Generally, the way the show has approached the whole concept of the spores is very different from the game. Nora is being honest when she says she has PTSD from Joel's killing and is haunted by what they did. This is a thing in the games too, like part of the irony here is that Ellie wants to make them all suffer for what they did to Joel, but rage, desire for revenge blinds Ellie to the fact that Abby and her entire group are all tortured by what they did every day, so they're already suffering constantly, no actual revenge necessary.
Sorry you saw it happen.
So ironically, Ellie kind of messes up by going after them in the first place. Like, this will bear out with Abby's arc too, where if Ellie had just left things alone, things would have gone way worse for Abby, and Ellie would have gotten what she wanted, really. But because she does come after them, ultimately, her actions wind up having the opposite effect. It's another reminder that revenge is bad. Like, that's the big message of Season 2. Revenge equals bad. Then even though Ellie, clearly very terrible, is an actual assassin, she manages to eventually catch Nora on B2, the basement level that they referenced at the beginning of the episode where all the spores were, that they tried to cordon off so that nobody could get out or in. Keep all those spores down below ground so we don't have to deal with them on the TV show. Advantage, Ellie, because she is immune, and Nora was dead the minute she set foot on B2. You can even see all the spores in the empty waiting room here right off the elevator, like the spores are everywhere in the air. Absolutely love the set design during this part of the episode with all the fungus. It's the way that it coats all the walls. It's almost like you're stepping onto another planet. All the people she spots breathing the spores, still barely alive, are the team of people from the WLF who got trapped down here just a little while ago that they referenced at the beginning of the episode, including the woman's son, Leon. Notice he has the same tag that reads Park. She finds Nora, reveals her immunity to her, and the realization comes to Nora, oh, you're the girl that we were talking about during episode 1. She reveals the doctor was Abby's father and why she killed Joel, and they use this to show you how cold Ellie has gotten, and that she does know that Abby's father was that doctor. Like, she knows everything, which is meant to be a big reveal. The way they play it is meant to be a big, big reveal. If it wasn't clear, that was the whole reason why she was mad at Joel back in Jackson and why she had moved into the garage. She eventually learned the truth about what happened at the end of season 1, but Ellie hadn't gone around telling everybody else. So like everybody else in Jackson had no idea why she was mad at Joel, and Joel himself hadn't completely realized exactly what was happening. But eventually we will see that flashback where they do confront each other and Ellie is open about what she learned about him doing. But at least in context, this all took place long before the events of episode 1, I think, or at least at some point during the events of episode 1, like before it all really goes crazy. So when it comes to all the Joel stuff for the rest of the season, it's all going to be very non-linear storytelling. Then they use this scene of Ellie torturing Nora with the pipe to make her a parallel for Abby torturing Joel with the golf club. They wanted to make them feel kind of like the same type of moment, same type of character. Ellie's kind of in danger of turning into another Abby. Then they cut immediately to her flashback in Jackson before the events of season 2, where she was still living in the main house and Joel was waking her up to give her his guitar. That's why he's waking her up here, because this is the day that he gives it to her and teaches her how to play it. As they cut to the credits, they use Pearl Jam's different song, Present Tense. And if you listen to the actual lyrics of the song, you kind of understand why they use this particular Pearl Jam song, because it's meant to be a metaphor for Ellie's journey in the TV show right now. You can spend your time redigesting past regrets, or you can come to terms and realize you're the only one that cannot forgive yourself. That's literally meant to be Ellie's character right now.
I know.
But it seems like next week is going to be a big Joel flashback episode where they travel to the museum for her birthday. She learns all about NASA. She sees the dinosaur, like all big video game moments from The Last of Us 2. As far as we know, they are doing season 3, and they are trying to stick pretty close to the video game plot, so we will see where they try to end season 2. It'll probably wind up being a pretty big cliffhanger because there is still a lot of plot. Like, The Last of Us 2 game is very, very big, much, much bigger than the first game. We're almost at the season finale, and they're not even close to covering some of the stuff from the game. If there's any other Easter eggs or references that you spotted in this week's episode that I didn't talk about in this video, just write them below in the comments. In my full episode 6 video, we'll post next week after they release it, so be sure to enable alerts for my channel so you don't miss that. Everybody click here for my new Fantastic Four Avengers Doomsday video, and click here for all my other Last of Us episode videos. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next video.